I can say anything, or is this
You can say anything because
what's
it's
the
online.
level?
We aren't on the radio, so we aren't going to get
Okay.
fined, boo. Okay. All righty. Hi, everyone. I'm sure you all are. I'm super excited to have everyone here. Welcome to Women Crushing Wednesday. And it's so good to see everyone here. And I know that people pop in and out. And today we are talking about digital. Like, I was thinking today how the internet was not a thing when I was in high school. Think about back in the day, it wasn't a thing. So people that are experts like Alexia Clincy, who I'm going to introduce in a second, she took something that wasn't a freaking thing. Like, she didn't grow up with the freaking internet, and is freaking crushing the game with helping businesses legitimately establish themselves and make money on the internet. And the important thing is why I'm excited about this interview personally is because so many people say that they do social media. Like, it's not social media. It's a digital technologist. It's a whole entire art and science behind it. And if you don't have the proper qualifications, you actually really aren't legit. Sorry. I'm such a jerk sometimes.
Do anything online.
Seriously. Jessica, what are you most excited about?
I'm excited for you guys to hear her story. I'm excited for you to see how she actually came about the idea and what prompted her to launch her business. It's something that I think we all can relate to.
We totally can.
I sure can.
And we were watching some of your old videos and interviews, and and there was one where you were sitting on the couch with you were sitting on the couch and other people sitting on the brown couch. Yeah. And you all were talking. But for all of you all who don't know, Alexia is a Los Angeles-based social media strategist and trainer. She is the executive director of Capitalize Social. So that means she designs impactful social media strategies that optimize online presence. And with that optimization means she helps people make money online. And she works for a variety of clients that include entertainment, nonprofit, higher education. And she was recognized as an expert in her field. She's been invited to speak with a whole bunch of organizations. And what's great is she has some workshops, some trainings, and some seminars, and she engages audiences on the fundamentals of social media. And she helps illustrate this. And she also does this cool podcast. What's the podcast?
I forgot the name of it.
What's the podcast? We all know you in the podcast, and we get to see your personality.
It's called Negroes with the Podcast, NWAP.
Love it.
Which I love doing. I love having that focus on how everything that's happening right now is affecting Black people and how Black culture is pushing everything. So I really, really enjoy that. And we all do that remotely.
Love it. Okay. Jessica, where do you think we should start?
I know that everyone's interested in just jumping into your story. Can you give us a little background?
Okay. No.
The
background. You gonna ask her what did she like to do when she was a kid?
No, shade. No. Not gonna ask. I'm going to ask you, how did you actually get
whatever you ask me, I got answers. I'm real open these days.
Yes.
I'm trying looking down. I'm trying to tweet the out, and I got it now.
No worries.
Okay.
Tweet away.
Okay.
Now, I really want, just so our viewers can know, how were you actually introduced to the potential of monetizing social media?
Well, like you said at the beginning when you introed me, I grew up, I didn't even have a cell phone until I was a sophomore in college.
What?
And even then it was the Nokia on it.
Yes. Did you have Pokemon or the Pac-Man game?
Nah, didn't even have that either. There was no color on the phone, no nothing. But when I was in high school, we had dial-up internet, and like you had to get off the internet so your parents could use the phone. So like you're right, like we did.
Yes.
And like when I was on Instant Messenger, I had to turn the volume down real quick because if my dad heard the blings, he'd be like, "Oh, what you talking about?" And you know that's nothing but trouble. So yeah, it was different. But in grad school, what was that? Probably like 2011, like my second year of grad school. Arab Spring was happening. and that was a lot of revolution in Tunisia and the Middle East. And what they were doing is they were starting to use Twitter to get people together to protest. And that was something that I started using like for projects and in school. I was doing it because I thought I was being slick and like, yeah, I use Twitter and Facebook, so I'm gonna do my projects on social media. But then I realized there's so much academic writing around the topic of networking and social networking and how people develop relationships online. And I was like, why are people like academically writing about this? I'm like, man, I could be doing this. And so I started freelancing, I guess I would say at this time, and just started pulling in people and telling them, hey, let me make a strategy for you. And they started going so well that it just spread, and people would call me. I would be doing this for one person, something else for another person. Like it wasn't any, real strategy to like what I was doing, like as far as process and system. And I was doing it for whatever amount of money. Like at the time I was just in grad school, just trying to do something, but it really took off. And once I graduated, I took the few clients I had as a freelancer and was like, man, I should make this into a business. So that's what I did.
Wow. Now, from our research, the reason why this business came about because you were technically forced to build this opportunity, and the need was the fact that you didn't have a job. Tell us about what that was like.
Yeah, so the fun facts about the way I started and what I always try to tell people, because like I haven't had a real job since 2009 or so, before I moved to grad school, to DC for grad school. So I've only had like a corporate job for 2 years. And so after grad school, I was online, like filling out, where you had to put in what you write in the cover letter and then upload the cover letter and upload your job experience and all that stuff. Like, I was like, yo, this is terrible. And at the time I was kind of looking at government type jobs, things like that too. I was living in DC at the time. And it's just like, I was just talking to nobody. Like it was just computers. And I realized then also that my network was weak. Like I didn't have a lot of people that I could talk to and really say, hey, what's going on? Where can I try to get a job or whatever? So I just, nothing was happening for me. And at the time though, I was very fortunate and I had a good opportunity that while I was in grad school, I was living in a house with this family. So I had the whole bottom level. I had my own like kitchen and bathroom and living room and my bedroom, but I was living there and I didn't have to pay to live there. This family had like 4 kids. So when I went to grad school, they said, hey, if you can drop our kids off at lacrosse a couple times a week, you can stay here. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Cause like that refund check came in and I was doing other things and not paying rent. But I make sure to let people know that like I had a good opportunity where it's like, yeah, I can start this. That didn't mean I was making $1 million, the month after I started my business, which is anybody can go on irs.gov and get an EIN number and start a business. So it really was a lot of learning curve at first and trying to learn actual business and, how do you build a company, all of that. So it was a lot of work that went into it. But yeah, I saw an opportunity and I went ahead and ran with it.
Wow. That's the thing that interests me. So it is hard to start a business, but you took that. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, how do you actually pitch yourselves to different companies or individuals to help them with their social media?
That's actually, man, that's a cheating question too, because I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I've never really done like a lot of straight up pitching or cold sales, anything like that. What usually tends to happen is I'm in an area or I'm either speaking. So speaking is a really, really big thing for me. And I would say I'd recommend for anybody who's like an expert-based, service-based type of business to speak as much as you can, because all it takes is for you to know a little bit more about something than them, show them something, give them all the information you can give them. And they're like, wow, this is great. I'm going to try this. And then they get so overwhelmed too that that's how I get all the phone calls and like, hey, how much is it? Like, I need somebody else to help me do this because it's too much, but I see the opportunity. I see what I can be doing. So it's my job to show you, give you the hope and give you the keys for you to do it. But then they come back to me. And also what happens with that too is that when you think social media, a lot of times you don't just think of a person or a company that just does it, off the top of your head without Googling. So when I was starting this in the DC area, like I was just that person. And I spoke at so many different like little organizations and places that anytime anybody needed a speaker or anytime somebody was getting together like a networking group, they always wanted to talk about social media, and they would always just call me. So I just became that person in the area that was kind of the go-to. Even now, I'll still get, actually, I just did the other day, I'll get LinkedIn messages saying, hey, I heard you spoke at this conference 2 years ago. Can you do this here for us? Or can you do a webinar or something like that? So for me, speaking is a great way to establish my knowledge, expertise. And that's really the biggest way that I pull in clients. And so with that is just getting referrals. So anytime I work with people, they always just spread it, or they'll tell somebody else, and then that person will call me.
What do you think are some of the risks that are associated with that? So many people can probably relate to what you're saying in terms of referral-based business. And sometimes, you'll hear, I've heard several experts say, even Nike has to advertise. But we all know we love a freaking good Nike sweatshirt, or what have you, seriously. But what do you think are some of the risks associated with that in your business that you see down the road?
Mm-hmm. I think that it's starting to become saturated. So like you said at the beginning, everybody says that they either do social media or they call it something else, where they're like maybe a creative director or something else, where they're basically just saying, hey, we'll help you do your content or help you post. Or it's some automated thing where they're like, hey, we'll get you this many followers, whatever it may be, right? So there's so many people doing it now that I think that people should advertise. Like I could do more advertising, but again, my biggest push is to give people all the information they need. So I want to teach people, so I would, even if I'm advertising, it would be maybe a Facebook ad or Instagram ad or something like that saying it's a free webinar, put in your email address, join in the webinar. That way I still get their information. I can still touch them later with a message or find them on LinkedIn or whatever else. And I'm still giving them information. So for me, that's still a little bit more impactful than, just having like ads per se. And it kind of develops a community around it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's get to like the grit. And like, I'm sure everybody's like, look how beautiful she is. She got this wonderful story. But like, where is the grit? Like, think about the process of being an entrepreneur. And you're saying, look, you've been off the corporate plantation since 2009. And what has been some of those situations that really had you like, yo, I want to quit and I want to cry and I may want to slip my wrist today.
Right. And today I can give you like, it's all the time. Right. I think it's been a lot of growing pains, especially. So as you start, you're like all excited and you're hyped. And I think I see this in social media a lot of times too now, where people are like life coaches or whatever, and not to knock them, but like everybody's some kind of coach or some kind of consultant now. And you get super hyped off of just saying, I run a business or I have a business, that you don't really think about the fact that you really don't really run a real business. Like it's falling apart. You don't really have any clients, or you don't have any process. You're not paying the taxes, like whatever it is. Like a lot of times we get caught up in just saying what it is, but it's so tough. And a lot of things that have been tough for me, like even right after I started it, I started technically in September of 2012. By January, I was online looking for a real job again, because I was like, man, I don't know about this. Like, I'm just doing the same thing as if I'm a freelancer and everybody's paying me different things and I can't, I'm not making that much money. And I honestly, at that point, I had to decide, okay, do I want to go find a job and work, which is perfectly fine. And like for people who already have jobs, and a lot of times I get questions about this, about quitting their job and starting their own thing. No. Like keep your job and like bring that in to fund your own side hustle and keep working on that for sure. Unless it just works for you, like how it worked for me where I wasn't paying much. But I had to decide, like, do I want to do that, or am I really going to go all in? And if I go all in, I got to do a lot of learning. Like I had to listen to lots of business podcasts. I was reading lots of books. Like I wasn't going back to school. I wasn't paying any more money for sure. But it was tough, and dealing even the smallest things, like setting my price, like stop underpricing myself, which is something that we do a lot, especially women in business, and just being burnt out from like trying to take on too many things and not having time to do it. Sometimes I still am now. Like I have contractors who work with me. I have partners who work with me, but still sometimes I'm like, man, I got to revamp like my services or what I'm doing, because it's still a process of removing myself out of the picture, if that makes sense. So it's not like I'm trying to do every single thing. So yeah, I get called a workaholic. People tell me like, man, you must be burnt out. And I don't think I am, but yeah, like there's times like I'll go to sleep thinking about my to-do list and I wake up like in a panic because I'm thinking about all the stuff I need to do. So it's a matter of just managing all of that. And I think money is a big thing too, because as you grow, if you don't have the overhead money to continue to like bring people in or to advertise or whatever it is, like you're ending up doing everything, or you feel like you can't really advance that much. So at first, like I was like, this is bad. Like I just need my laptop and me, which I did. And then it was like, oh, like there's a ceiling that I hit now. So I have to do a little bit more. So there's always stuff happening that you have to keep figuring in. Like even right now when we started, I was like, man, I'm so tired today because I've just been doing the most and been in meetings and stuff like that and still thinking about stuff I got to do. So it's a lot, but it's also amazing because I get to create my day. So, you know, it's like you don't want to complain too much because I can also do what I want to do, but there's still much more to learn, I'm sure.
Before I ask you about how you manage your day, because that would just seem just so relevant, I want to talk about something that you mentioned about women and how for some reason we go to a table and we grossly underprice ourselves. And we are a lot of times don't even think we're worthy enough to even get a seat at the table. Where was a time where you went in and you knew that you devalued your products and service offerings, and were you able to kind of recoup that?
Yeah, so okay, I have two stories kind of about being a woman and letting somebody kind of either walk over me or letting myself kind of be like, okay, whatever. One, and I'll never forget it, man. Sometimes I replay it like, man, I should have said this afterwards. But one time I was in this real estate brokerage because a realtor called me and they wanted to do some work with me. And while I was there, the guy who ran the whole place, he was a black man. Guy ran the whole place. He looked at me and he said, what do you know about social media? You don't know anything. And it just caught me so off guard because I was like, what? Like, this is the guy who's running y'all's whole company right now? Like, what kind of leadership is that? It caught me so off guard that I was just like, I know I've been doing this for a while, so like I know what I'm doing. Like, but I was kind of like, whatever. And it kind of bothered me that somebody would even say something like that. Like he didn't know me and I wasn't even here to talk to him. And so I keep going back. Sometimes I'm like, man, I should have said enough for the White House to hire me, or like I should have said, well, if you knew better, like you would have me in here running this whole thing. Like I should have said something crazy or whatever. But I let him kind of talk down on me, and it really bothered me. So that was something that I kind of was like, I'm not going to let anybody do that to me or like question me like that again. Not in that way, because that was just bad leadership, honestly, from him. But I was like, nah, I'm not the one for that. And since then, I've gotten a lot more spunky. Like I don't, you get more confident in yourself too, I think, as time goes. And the more confident you are in your work, like it's easier for you to be more direct with people. And there was times where, there's a million times where I've been in a meeting and somebody be like, okay, how much does it cost? And I'm like, do you want to pay this, or maybe we can work something out? And then I'm ending up putting so much time into something that I'm probably getting paid like $11 an hour or something, where I knew people in the field was getting like $100 an hour. And I knew somebody who was getting paid like $600 an hour consulting. And I'm like, to me, I was like, oh my gosh, wow, how did you do that? And since then I've gotten the project where somebody paid me that much. So I was like, man, like all you have to do is like state your price. And I went to a workshop one time where the lady was having a whole conversation around how do you price yourself and stop being scared. And literally the next day I had a meeting and I went in there and was like, he said, how much is it? And just to say a number, I was like, it's going to be $500. He said, okay, that sounds fair. And like whatever number I really said was like 6 times more than what I usually had been saying. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like this whole time I've been losing because I'm worried about not offending somebody else or whatever, but really I need to value my own time and like my own expertise, and it has to make sense. So ever since then, I'm like, yo, that thing's been going up and up and up.
So like, what was that aha moment? Like what push you to the edge for you to be like, I'm over it. I'm about to say it's this much.
Because I'm sitting at a computer all day. And at this point I'm doing everything. Like I'm developing strategy for people. I'm doing implementation for people. And I'm sitting at a computer all day and don't have any money to show for it because I'm sitting here doing all of this work for like so little money. And I'm not even valuing how much time it really takes. Even now, you know, people don't understand like how much time it can take to do certain things. So, you know, it's about valuing yourself, I think, and not selling yourself short. And I've just read so many articles too about just them saying like women do that a lot, or women are afraid to take credit sometimes for stuff. Like we want to say, no, it was a whole team, or, you know, we all did this. Like, no, like I did this, like, this is me. And, you know, I'm the one who knows what I'm doing. So to assert yourself that way was something that kind of changed the way that I could walk into a meeting and like, I'm the one running it.
I love it.
Yes. It's something I can relate to also. You mentioned that you are really adamant about continuing your education. Can you talk about that and why that's important to the constant growth of your business?
Mm-hmm. Mostly because I didn't really have a business background. And when I was in grad school, I thought about they had a program where you could do like an extra year and have an MBA as well. But like I said, I wasn't trying to pay for that. Even looking back now, honestly, I'm like, man, I didn't need school to do, you know, to really do what I do. Of course, the networking and the skills I learned were awesome. But now I realize, like, between YouTube, Google, the people I know, like, I can figure out anything. And so I just had to do so much, mostly to keep myself inspired a lot of times. So, like, I'm big on a lot of self-help stuff, and I love the blogs and books because it's easy for you to just be like, man, I don't even want to wake up and do this today. So I was always trying to keep myself like up. I was always trying to read new strategies on like how to organize my day. How do I organize my to-do list? How do I be a better leader to the people who work with me? Things like that. So like it was so much that I was trying to learn. And even now I'm always still reading those types of books and still learning. And even with the platform, so working in social media, like Instagram changes, Facebook changes like every other day now. So it's always ongoing education, even within my field, to know what's going on. So I need to be the one who knows. Like you said, again, like everybody says they could do this, but then you can ask them, oh, what year did Twitter start? And like, they don't know. Or you can ask them like, what's the Facebook algorithm right now? They don't know. So to really be the top person and to really know what I'm talking about, a lot of times that's when people in the speaking room or whatever are like, oh, wow, when I'm telling them these things that they just never even heard before.
That's true. You really were an internet sensation when you challenged how women are supposed to look when they go to work. Please describe that outfit and please describe why it went so ham on the internet. This girl called out everybody.
Wait. First of all, I'm like, which outfit are you talking about?
Wasn't it like a tie? The tie?
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So when I was in DC, because I grew up in North Carolina. So, and I was just talking to somebody today earlier about how, man, when I look back at those old pictures, like, why was I wearing that? So I definitely was dressing like real crazy. I moved to DC for grad school, and then I started to like get a little bit more style. But even that's different than what it is now, honestly. But at the time, DC is a little bit more uptight, a little more, the business community is a little bit different there, and it's more official. And I have a friend, let me plug Jared. His name is Jared Ricks. And I worked with him to help him get his business started as a tailor because he was interested in that. And so for me to have a friend who was a tailor, he would start to make, like, I was like, yeah, I want to dress like, I want like a suit too. And, you know, I want monograms on I want the split collar.
Yes.
So he made me a lot of clothes. I had like vests, I had the monograms popping. I had all kinds of like cufflinks and everything. And so I would mix that with like my pencil skirt and whatever, and just put it together and just like boss out my day, because in that environment, that's kind of like just the perception I wanted to have. And that's what made me feel good, like to walk into somewhere and they're like, oh, you have tailored clothes on. Like, you're not just a bum, which even with years, it doesn't have to cost you $1 million to do this either, you know, if you want to. So that was just like my style there. But I'm gonna tell you something, honestly, since I've been in LA, like I haven't put a suit on since I got here because it ain't the same like that. So
really?
No. And it's that, like, I have tattoos on my hands and stuff now. Like, nobody cares about that. Like, I'll go into business meetings and people have tattoos on their face and they're the CEO. So everybody's laid back here, which is kind of partly why I moved, because I was like, man, I'm tired of DC being so uptight. I want to go somewhere where I feel like here people are more like themselves and free. And so I could dress like that if I wanted to, or I can have some tattered up jeans and walk into a meeting. So I had to switch it up from time to time.
What was the conversation like how did the whole convo go? So to get everyone that hasn't seen the story, why was it such a big deal?
Look, you tell me, because to me that is like regular. I don't know why did it strike you?
Didn't it go viral?
Yeah, it went viral.
Yo, it went viral.
I don't know, maybe to me that was like kind of regular. That was back when Instagram had the algorithm where like it was easier for more people to see your pictures and stuff too, because I think it was because a couple community pages, you know how they have like women working pages and they feature you, or like the Cut Life, and if you get a haircut, like you get on there and you're just gonna be booming. I think it was a couple of pages like that took that outfit, or like that's always a picture that people take and they just use it on their pages for some reason. So I love it.
When Jessica talked about this is the woman, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm like, that is the girl. I'm like, I wear cufflinks.
Maybe I need to use that more often. And I put that on the
You should. You really should.
I love it. So you're showcasing that you're just using your natural presence to grow your social media brand personally and to help other businesses. What do you look for when you're actually sitting down with potential clients to figure out if they're a good fit for you and your business?
What I'm looking for mostly is a certain mindset and understanding. There's some people who think, okay, I'm going to start a Facebook page tomorrow and I'm going to have 500 more sales next month. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Or there's people who they start a business and they're like, all right, I'm just going to put this link out every day and like buy this today or 50% off today and do this today and sell. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that either. Like it literally is relationship building. Like it's a platform where of course you want to get conversions and you want to sell, but you actually have to care about your audience, and you actually have to have an audience in mind and cater your content that's shareable, content that's valuable, that gives them something to them. So a lot of people, when they get that, when they're like, okay, I really care, and like I want to learn about, what does my audience care about, or I want to give them information, or, I understand it's going to take me time, like to make content, make videos, do whatever it is that they want to do. Then it's like, okay, I can work with this. And now let's get creative and coming up with ideas of, finding your sweet spot. Like what is something that people always ask you about or people care about with you that everybody might not know about or that you don't showcase, like being authentic. Because like you said, again, everybody's page is starting to look the same. Even with mine, like my page is not extra businessy because everybody's looks the same, where it's like fake doing something, lifestyle picture. And then it's like a quote about, you could do anything today, go be great. And there's nothing wrong with that. All of that's perfectly fine. But that's not me. Like, I just don't care to really do that. So I just want to be authentic and show things that I care about, show things that I'm doing. Lately also too, because at first I was so into like, I have a business, but now I don't even like so much talking about things that I'm working on. It's like, I just need to work on it. Mm-hmm. And instead of getting all hyped up off of everybody else being hyped when I say I'm going to do this or I'm working on this, and you get all that praise and hype, and then you kind of don't really, you're not even that excited to do it anymore because they already hyped you up. Right. So, I just want to focus on executing, and I want to focus on showing like results and showing, things I'm doing. I don't have to take pictures with every client. I don't have to do all that really, because I'm working with some cool people.
Yes, I'm sure. Why executive director and not CEO?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the way real companies run, you're not a CEO if you don't have a board. That's not a real company. And that's something that people say because it sounds good. And so I don't like the title for myself for CEO, because I think there's just a lot of stigma to it. Or like if I just say that, it's just because I just want to be like, oh, I'm the boss, like I'm the CEO. And two, because technically I'm not a CEO. Like there's no board members. That's not the structure that I'm working as. So really it's just kind of an empty term that sounds good. I like executive director because I feel like I direct the whole operations. And so I do have people who work with me and they do different positions and stuff like that. And I could create like a technical board and, have equity and giveaway and stuff like that, but I don't. So in an effort to keep it real, and also just because I don't like the sound of that when everybody says, I'm a CEO, and it's just them in their house on the computer, doing what they do. Like, that's not really how that works. You're just really one employee of yourself. So I just never wanted to use that. That's a really good question, though.
Wow. That's making me think about some shit.
Yeah, I'm like,
Right. And I see people use like creative titles and stuff too, which I really like when I come across cool stuff like that. I can't think of one now, but like anytime I see somebody's car and it's like something interesting or different, I'm like, oh, I like that, because you're just kind of creating your own thing.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
What do you think about Chief Rainmaker?
Chief Rainmaker?
Yeah.
That sounds like you run a strip club. That sounds like.
I was thinking about that for myself. Like, should I call myself Chief Rainmaker? And you're so fucking right.
Rainmaker.
Rain it down.
Yeah, either you run a strip club or you about to get on stage. One of the
Girl,
other.
one or the other, whatever we got to do. I'm just joking. It's a joke. It's a joke, people. It's a joke.
She's only kidding.
I'm just kidding. So this is the real deal. It is not like it's completely obvious that you're stunning. Has your beauty like interfered with people taking you seriously? And have you ever been in a business situation where they only took a meeting with you just because they wanted to try to holler at you?
Okay, so that's two things. What was the first part? Have I used it?
Oh, no. Has it interfered with people taking you seriously?
I'm not sure I would say it's interfered with people taking me seriously. But what I can tell you is that I've had multiple examples of, actually, when I spoke at the White House, I was speaking to the communications directors of different federal agencies, and I was talking to them on specifically how to use social media to impact and engage with the Asian American and Pacific Asian American audience. And as soon as I got up and opened my mouth and started speaking, I noticed everybody did this. Like they didn't expect me to sound a certain way. And I don't know if, what that was necessarily, if it's my skin color, my gender, whatever. But I'll never forget that. And actually, and to be honest with you, it's mostly Black people who did that. It's like I got up and it was like, okay. Then I started speaking and I got into my thing and everyone was like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. That's what it felt like to me. Like that's what people were thinking when they did that, made that type of a face. There's been other times where, similar to that actually. Once I start speaking, I feel like people are like, oh, wait, like maybe I should pay attention. So I think what that's kind of done, and I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, is that it's kind of made me more like a tough guy or like a hard guy when I'm, even as a person, because some people would say I'm mean until they like really know me, but it's because I want to cut past like I'm not going to come in here and be like, hi, like I want to cut past that. And it's like, I'm trying to get to business because I don't have time to be like playing around like with all the other stuff, right? So sometimes it makes me go too much the other way, but we also get to business. Now with the people taking meetings with me, I have like a whole process now that I have to do because people try to waste my time because they really just wanted to go on a date. And I'm like, all you had to do is just say you wanted to go on a date.
Right.
So
I love it. Terry says, you go, girl.
Thanks, Terry. People, I'll get an email, right? And here's your number one sign of
okay. Let us know.
They don't have nothing to talk about when they email you and say, hey, I'd like to get together with you and talk about some ideas. Or if it's, I want to pick your brain on something I'm doing or working on, let me know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, like, so what do you want to talk about? And so to those messages, or even if they do specifically say something like, hey, I'm working on XYZ, but a lot of times people will just kind of hit you with the, hey, and expect me to be the one to open up the convo like, hey, what do you need? And it's like, no, just like give me the information. I don't want to go back and forth. Like, I don't have time to go back and forth all day via emails and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, great. What's your idea? What did you want to talk about specifically? What is it that you're looking for? What did you hope to gain? Let me know what exactly are you looking for? Or I'll say straight up, I'll say, send me an agenda for what you want to meet about. And at that point, no, even before that, honestly, because a lot of times the messages come from social media first. If they send me like an Instagram message or a Twitter message or something like that, I say, cool, email me. And I put my email. Well, I don't never get an email. Then it's okay. So I'm not going to have that conversation here when it's like, email me. And like, if you really have something to talk about, then if I do get an email, then I'll send them and ask them for an agenda or something. And like, what do you want to talk about? From there, it's like, okay, well, this looks like something we can have a phone call about. Or actually, I don't. People will be in random other industries and like asking me about, somebody asked me about how to start a tennis shoe company. And I was like, you know what? I can't really help you because all I would be doing is Googling, which is what, you can do. Like, I can give you help about maybe thoughts around starting a company, whatever. But like, he was real specific about like how to put together tennis shoes and to sell. And I'm like, I don't know. So, at that point I can say, hey, let's have a phone call. Or if it's for real, it's like, okay, we can meet. Or I can say, I'm not really the best qualified for that, but I can, if there's somebody I might know, I'll try to connect you or something like that. So I just put a lot of steps in place because my thing is like the less meetings, the better. I think meetings are a time suck.
Heck,
and
yeah.
If you can't email it, then maybe you have a phone call. If you can't have a phone call, then we'll have a meeting. And like driving to somewhere, it's going to be at least a 3-hour thing. So that could be like your whole day just to go somewhere, talk about nothing, and then come back. So, and I've had some experiences where I thought we were networking and meeting, and then they start asking me questions about my family and stuff. And I was like, ugh, like, let me put my card out here so you think this is not a date. Like, I'm going to pay for my stuff and like, I'm out. And I've had people really like try to insert themselves that way. So it's just like, man, that's whack. But there's also people that I've been cool with or that I just met out somewhere, and years later, now they're trying to connect me in with their business on like real work stuff. So I'm not knocking networking at all. Just don't have a false like pretense of what you need if that's not what you want.
Right. And it's so important for especially women, women of color, to make sure that you set those boundaries and make sure you're not leading people on. Terry says, I like to keep it strictly business. So if people flip the script, you don't get it twisted. And that's so true. Like it's important for us to have that kind of stuff in place. What you got, Jessica?
They're going to flip it anyway. Like, that's the thing. Sometimes they're just off. Like that meeting that I went to at lunch, that turned into this guy a year later getting a job across the street from me because he was like off. Like, so it's weird stuff. People who are off are just off. So you have to be
I can't. That's stressful. That's crazy.
That's why I just send them to my consultation page.
Right. Like if you really exactly go to this page, look at the services. If you really want to talk about some real business.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned the importance of networking. What are your go-to networking methods?
Everything I've gotten to do that was awesome. Every cool client has been because of networking. And when I first started, I used to go super hard and go to like all these different meetings. I forgot what they even call it, BNIs and stuff like that. I never joined them because I'm not paying nobody to network. And that's what I would say every time. Like, you want me to pay to be in this group to refer to each other, but now you know me and you can refer if you want. I can refer to you if I want. Like, I don't need to pay to network. But I was everywhere. And again, back to the speaking as well, making that part of like my sales funnel where I'm in there and I'm talking to everybody before I go up, talking to everybody after, getting everybody's card, using LinkedIn the most. That's my favorite platform for business. My strategy is after I speak or after I meet somebody and I get their information, I'll go home that day or within the next day and find them, send them a personal note saying, hey, we met at this, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to have you in my network. Let me know how I can help you. What are you working on? And you'd be surprised how many people like really open the floodgates of everything they're doing and, keeps you top of mind. And that way it's different than when people get that LinkedIn request and you just say, bloom, okay, cool. Like, but there's no combo and there's nothing to remember about you. So I always open it up with combo. And also with my online networking with LinkedIn, I use that people who viewed your profile thing a lot, because if somebody found my profile from searching for a keyword, that means they need something. Right. So it sounds so creepy, but it works. I always say, hey, I noticed you were checking out my profile. Like, is there anything I can help you with? No, but they'd be like, yeah, actually, I'm trying to work on this strategy, or we're looking for somebody to come speak, or whatever it is. And they'll tell you that, because people are so scared to just pick up the phone and talk to you or email you. Like, they just want to look around online and see if they can figure things out themselves. So a lot of times that opens up. I've gotten direct messages to, hey, do you want to be on a panel at this conference? And from there, I got clients from that. I got a direct message to work on a movie. Like, so everything is just me mixing in my social media with showing what I know and what I do and what I'm doing. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's a good thing, but people just kind of take your word for it. Because a lot of people don't necessarily say like, hey, show me all the results you've ever gotten, or show me all these people you've worked with. Sometimes they're just like, oh, I see you're talking about social media. Can you do this? And fortunately, like, I actually do know what I'm doing, but I noticed that a lot of times it's just a matter of you talking about what you do and talking about what you know. And, those conversations open up that way. But in real life, going to conferences, so especially women's conferences, tend to be really good. And I get to connect with other people, mostly because I also want to give to them. So my biggest thing is giver's gain, that I say anytime I speak to anybody.
Giver's gain. I love that.
Because it's true. Like, anytime I speak to somebody, and that's why when I send my messages on LinkedIn, I always say like, how can I assist you with anything? Because they may say, oh, I'm looking for somebody to help me with my website. I know people who can do that. Let me connect you to some people. And so even if that has nothing to do with me, I'm always looking to connect dots with people, because that always comes back around. And it always comes back around to be helpful to me. But it also gives me the opportunity to put people on that I know. So if I know people who also have businesses and do certain things, then I'm happily connecting them with people. And like I said, it just all kind of comes back around. So it's cool when people know you as somebody they can go to for whatever they need. And at least I can try to, put you in the right direction.
Giver's gain. That's going to be such a great follow-up for us. Seriously. Ori says, great points. I love this. And I love how authentic you are. It's like every single interview has been so much fun, because the women have been so real, and they're talking about Black women are angry, Black women are this, we don't do that. It's like, we're so real. We're so freaking amazing. We're funny. We're witty, and we're down to earth.
That's part of my personal philosophy, which I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is, but it's around authenticity, and that authenticity is what bridges the growth. So you have to really be yourself and be in your right lane for stuff to happen the way it's supposed to happen. Like, when you're trying to force it too much, or you're trying to fake like you're doing this, like, that's not really for you. Those results don't come because that's not really for you, and that's not really who you are. So kind of really like finding your lane, what you care about, what you like, and actually focusing on that, the success just comes naturally.
It's so true. So many of us are living in fake identities. I listen to Les Brown every morning. So every month I'm trying to listen to something new and positive. Yeah, what do you do for your morning routine to get you started?
Well, so for those who can see, I have a whole whiteboard wall, and the first column says routine. But sometimes it doesn't work too. So I feel like constantly I'm trying to figure out like, what's the best routine for me without being pulled in different directions. Because once I get pulled off, then I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm off now. And, trying to keep it consistent. But what my routine is now, actually, I usually kind of wake up for like around 5-ish, but not really get out of bed yet. So let me not act like I get up extra early, because I get up and I'll be on Twitter for like an hour, honestly. Or I'll text people or whatever, because East Coast people are up and moving.
Right.
So I usually kind of get up around 5-ish. I just started working with the trainer now. So I go up there 7:15, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Pause. We were stalking your body. Okay.
Jessica, okay, it's fake athletic.
Girl.
You're gonna get it toned up. It's not strong.
Girl, it ain't. Girl, whatever it is, tell me how I get the fake athletic. Like, we were like, this girl can't have a banging body, be smart, pretty face. Like, what the heck is wrong with you? Okay, I just had to continue because we were stalking your body, and we were like, we got to figure out what she's eating and what the regimen is.
but I'm 32, so all of a sudden you get a little older and you're like, let me not fall off. Like, let me make sure I'm gonna stay together. But when I start my day, what I do, I have to have, she said, a triple threat.
Triple threat.
Thank you. I have to have a cup of coffee every morning. I started a mug collection. Like, that's kind of geeky, but I started collecting mugs now because I drink. My coffee is like the first thing I have to do. It like wakes my brain up, but I don't drink throughout the day. So I can't do that because more than one, like, I'm gonna have a heart attack. I just need that one to just get the juices going. Like coffee and put some Jay-Z on, and I'm like, I'm hyped. I feel like I'm already a billionaire. Like, I'm hyped.
He love that.
I love that.
He would love it. Okay.
Because when I'm hyped and then the music's on, like I'm making the video while I'm getting ready and stuff, it's awesome. So what I do first is I write out my goals every morning. I'll skip a morning sometimes. And honestly, sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to write them today. I just want to get to work. So every once in a while, I'll skip them. But I write my goals down every morning, the same ones, like every day, to get my mind focused on this is what I'm working towards. And I meditate. I have, I use the Calm app because they have a bunch of different meditations. It's really, really good. Like 10 minutes usually. I'll meditate. And then I get started with my day, where the first things I usually do are look at like news, current events. And by news, I mean like social media news, things going on in tech, things that I need to know and be aware of in my field. I work on writing. I try to work on my biz dev and my personal stuff first while my brain is the most fresh. So if I want to write a blog post, if I want to pitch for speaking, pitch for working with a client or something like that, I try to do that early and do that at first. There's something called haro.com, HARO. Now down every day they send you, this is good, a list, and you can choose categories that are interesting to you. So for me, one of them is like business and tech or something. And it's all these reporters and writers who are looking for experts like to weigh in on a subject. So for example, one day I saw one and it was like, what's the best way to get more followers? Something like that. And you can email back and say, my name is Alexia, I run a blah, blah, blah. This is what I have to say about that. And next thing you know, they might have that in a magazine somewhere. Or I got,
here.
Yeah, or you can get a feature on, like I've been on NPR a couple times because now since I did it the first time, I built a relationship with a reporter. So like I'll pitch to her. I'm like, hey, Facebook is about to start making TV shows and I haven't seen you guys talk about that yet. Let me know if that's something you want to talk about on your show. And they called me that day and was like, yep, let's talk about it, get you on. So I was like, oh shoot, I don't really know about it yet, but like I had just read about it. But I did it, right? And so I did the little interview, and then I had friends and stuff who were like, oh, I heard you this morning on the radio. So like just stuff like that, and maintaining relationships and trying to be somebody who gives people content, give them information. But that's a good way too. So I'll look at stuff like that in the morning. What can I pitch? What can I talk about? And then I get into like my client work, where I try to have like my meetings between a certain time. And most of my meetings are remote, like Google Hangout, stuff like that. Most of my clients are on the East Coast or Central. And all of the people who work with me are all over the place. So we always just Google Hangout or do phone calls. And I just work through like my list of to-do stuff for my clients. And I try to go to sleep. Like I'm pretty tired by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, honestly. Like yesterday I went to bed at like 9:30. I'm not ashamed of that. But I drink a bottle of wine.
30, you go to bed at 9:30.
Mm-hmm. I drink a bottle of wine, watch Game of Thrones again, and like chill out. Like I don't go out that much anymore. But when I'm in the mood to go out, like I do turn. So, but I know it's gonna mess my next day up sometimes. So it's like something has to be happening or going on or whatever. But I like to have a Tuesday or Wednesday be like my weekend and run around, do errands, don't work. While everybody else is working. And typically on the weekends is when I like get the most work done. And I do like a lot of internal work or like biz dev stuff or work on my stuff, like make courses or, whatever I need to be doing.
This has been so great. We got one more question. We want to be respectful of your time. And Jessica always closes us out. What you got for us?
The last thing I'd like to ask you. Any advice for anyone looking to actually launch a career in this business? I know that's a little cliche, but
that was cliche.
It was. It was.
It's like, yeah.
I'm about to say, I see a lot of blinking at the bottom.
Ori says, What is the name of the website Alexia mentioned? Oh,
Haro.
HARO.com. And my friend Ashley, she's in DC, put me onto that. And so that's a good thing too, is like I have a lot of friends when they see stuff, like, hey, I thought you might like this, or I saw this new tool that helps you plan Instagram. Like, I thought you might be interested in this. And I'm like, thank you, because I don't know everything. Like, right. I'm still the one watching stuff happening too as it happens. So I'm glad that I do have friends who, they're not scared to put me on. And that's another networking tool too, that if I see something that will be relevant to somebody, like I'll send it to them like, hey, have you seen this article or have you seen this information? Because then it's like, okay, cool. Thanks.
Givers gain. Hello. Yeah. Okay, so to make the question not cliche.
Okay.
If you want to look back on when you were when this first happened, what would you change? Like, what would you look back on 5 years ago and say, I would like to do this differently?
Within my personal journey?
Within building this business. Yep.
I don't know. I think because everything that I would think immediately like that I would do differently, I did start doing over time. it was just implementing, things that I didn't know. Maybe, I don't know if I would do anything.
Or you can't be this perfect. Like, come on.
That's not perfect, but because I'm very adamant about if I don't know something or if I'm having difficulty with something, like I'm gonna research right then and I'm gonna figure it out. And
that's true. Yeah.
And it may not work immediately and I may not get it immediately, but whatever is an issue or hard spot, I'm like, what does this person have to say about this? Or what is, is there a book about this or something? Because I'm gonna try to always be like evolving and growing with it. So I'm not. I
think there we have it. When you don't have the answer, look it up and activate on it right then and there, and don't let time go by.
Google is so free and it's so amazing. Like everything. Like if people had over the years, people ask like, oh, can you talk about something? And then I'd be like, what is that? Yep, I can talk about it. Like, I got you. Like, let me figure it out and I'm gonna tell you about it and tell you more than what you thought you knew. So, I mean, it's there. All the information.
Last final question. What's your zodiac sign? You have to be a Scorpio.
I am offended.
I'm a Scorpio. What is your zodiac sign?
I am so offended.
I mean, you shouldn't be. Scorpios rule the world, girl.
But the person I love
mostly all created on Valentine's Day.
Who? What about Valentine's Day?
Scorpios. Majority, like a lot of Scorpios were conceived in Valentine's Day.
That explains. I was born February 5th, so I'm an Aquarius.
Oh, you're an Aquarius.
Oh.
But I'm not. First of all, let's talk about how we're not distant. Actually, I used to be. I was way more like closed up, like super distant or whatever. But I don't know. I'm just more open these days. Like I said, like I don't know. I'm just open for everything now. So.
You moved to LA.
But I'm an explorer. What else? I don't even know what they say about us.
Oh my gosh, Francine says her birthday's February 5th.
Hey.
The birthday buddy.
The birthday buddy. Oh, and Terry said that's her mom's B-Day.
Hey. When's your birthday, Scorpio?
November 14th.
Oh, okay.
And
Jessica have the same birthday as my little boo. Y'all crazy. I don't like y'all.
I love Scorpios.
I'm a Capricorn. Yeah, we're a perfect match. Perfect match. Thank you so much for just blessing us with your energy, your advice. Like, we wish you so much success and continued success. And I got so many good nuggets. I'm going to make my whiteboard bigger. I'm going to establish a better routine. Girl, I got so much stuff from you today. I'm like, thank you for upgrading me today.
Sometimes I'm like just in my own world and I think stuff is just regular to me and I don't think about, like little things that people are like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. I never heard of that. But like, I don't know until I talk to people. So that makes me feel good because I'm like, I didn't even get into anything yet. Like, I didn't really I didn't really tell that much stuff, but I'm so glad it was helpful.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
And I do want to let people know, make sure that they listen to your podcast because we got a whole bunch of new people listening.
Yeah, so listen to Negroes with a Podcast, NWAP, and we're on YouTube now too. So we put up like the actual videos of us, our recording sessions. And my website is capitalizesocial.com, and all my social media is the same, Lextopia, LEX_TOPIA.
Yay! Have a great evening. We loved having you. Even though you're not a Scorpio, I still love the fuck out of you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.